How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson across the United States. The phone number 877-973-7425. It is an open line Friday. I just stumbled across this story. This may be the most Vermont story I have ever in my life read. Here's the headline: Rogue rattlesnake moved from Grand Isle. This is from Vermont Public Radio. During the 17 years Matt Thiel has been a Vermont game warden, he's helped release a fox tangled in a soccer net. He's captured an injured bald eagle in need of rehabilitation, and he's even relocated a moose. Thiel has a truckload of equipment, but snake tongs and hooks are not among his set. That's because there are no venomous snakes in the Champlain Islands of northwest Vermont. So when he got a call about a rattlesnake, he had to improvise. He tracked down a long-handled garbage grabber in the equipment shed at the Missisquoi National Wildlife Refuge Visitor Center. It was one of those. I'd rather have those than nothing. Vermont has a small population of timber rattlesnakes in Rutland County, and they've been found in New York State across Lake Champlain. But before Thiel got the call, as far as anyone can remember, there's never been a rattlesnake spotted in Grand Isle County. This is where it gets to be the most Vermont news story ever. When Kim McFerrin happened upon the nearly 4-foot-long snake near her Grand Island home, her first reaction was to turn to ChatGPT. I uploaded a photo and says that this was a rattlesnake. It said it's a timber rattler, because apparently the rattling she wasn't sure about. The snake was right along the path she and her family used to get down to the lake, and she was afraid that if it disappeared into the rocky ledge, she'd forever fear for her kids' safety. So, are y'all ready? McFerrin summoned her meditation skills, honed through classes at the nearby Vermont Zen Center. I kid you not, she says. I sat for 30 minutes until these rangers arrived, doing my loving kindness meditation, trying to send peace to the snake, she said. I tried to send all the good vibes. I was so desperate to keep this snake, to stay close so that we could capture it. So they arrived with a fishing net and a beer cooler. The game warden did. And for 30 minutes, they tried to catch the snake. They were successful. She meditated to keep the snake from running away. She meditated to send it good vibes. Welcome to Vermont, y'all. I gotta go to Vermont in a month or so. I channel some good vibes near me. Mercy. Okay, we must talk about the invasion of Memphis. The President of the United States has taken my advice. A couple of weeks ago, my morning piece, you can get it by texting data to 33777. Subscribe. Get a discount. I opened your morning in your inbox a couple of weeks ago, and the title of the piece was actually Invade New Orleans. And I said, if Donald Trump really wants to have an impact on crime, he should invade Memphis, New Orleans, St. Louis, Kansas City, red states that have areas that are deeply crime infested, and improve the crime in those areas and show people in blue states that it is possible. So many of these people have decided it is absolutely impossible to be able to tamp down on crime. It's impossible to fix crime in areas. They've given up. The left has given up. Unless you're going to get rid of guns, you can't get rid of crime. The president wants to prove otherwise. So working with Governor Bill Lee in Tennessee, the president has decided to summon the National Guard to Memphis. This is from the Wall Street Journal. President Trump says he plans to send National Guard troops to Memphis as part of a crackdown on crime across the country following his administration's intervention in Washington, D.C. In an interview with Fox News on Friday, Trump called Memphis deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did in Washington. The National Guard and anybody else we need will bring the military in if we need to. Trump's announcement that he would send troops to Memphis comes after he threatened for weeks to send the National Guard to Chicago, calling the city a mess. The Memphis Police Department recently reported overall crime had fallen to a 25-year low, with the number of murders dropping to a 6-year low, but rates remain among the highest in the country. The office of Memphis Mayor Paul Young, a Democrat, didn't immediately respond to comment. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee doesn't have to wait for Trump to send the National Guard in. The governor has the power to mobilize the Guard himself. The president says he would have preferred to send the Guard to Chicago, but the local officials opposed any involvement. We'd love to save Chicago. We don't want it to go in hostile areas. Trump also said he's willing to send them to New Orleans. New Orleans is really in bad shape, and the governor wants us to go, and we'll do that too. Now, for those of you who haven't been to Memphis, my sister and her family live just north of Memphis. Memphis is a third world hellhole when it comes to crime. Do you know they had a shooting down? Beale Street is the most important tourism center within Memphis, Tennessee. They had a gangland shooting down Beale Street not that long ago. My sister and her husband go to church with a man who is a police officer. I've told you the story before. He and his wife were headed to the Virgin Islands. It was their first vacation in quite a while. Their flight was at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning from Memphis down to Atlanta to make a connecting flight. They got up and drove to the airport at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure they were there on time. People came out of the bushes. They were off the interstate due to road construction. They were taking a side road. People came out of the bushes and shot them. They were fine. In fact, the guy got a bullet through him. They patched him up. He was a police officer. They patched him up. The ambulance did, and he and his wife still went to the airport and made their flight to the Virgin Islands. I'm not making this story up. Literally, gang members came out of the bushes. It was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning at an intersection and opened fire on them. They weren't firing. The gang members weren't firing at each other. They were firing at the people stopped at the stoplight. Just for giggles, I guess. I don't know. This sort of stuff happens all the time. Memphis is not a safe city. And when you say that crime is better there, is at a 6-year low, or murder is there at a 6-year low, it's still one of the murder capitals of the United States. That's how bad crime is in Memphis, that you can see the murder rate fall 6 years in a row, be at a 6-year low, and it's still one of the highest in the country. That's how bad the crime is in Memphis. It's terrible. And what local government has done is they've largely done what my old mayor did in my city, where they just got rid of all the gang task force and said, guess what? We have no gang problems in the area. You know, this is a tactic of some local politicians, particularly Democrats, is they disband the gang task force and the gang database. And they say, well, we don't have a gang problem anymore. So what Mamdani says he's going to do in New York is get rid of the gang database. That there are innocent people in the gang database, so we should delete the whole database instead of just finding the innocent people. The Democrats' way of making crime go away is to just not report it. And in fact, there are some people who argue that in Memphis, the reason crime has gone down so much is because people have given up reporting it, because the government's not going to do anything about it. The shoplifting, no one's going to do anything about it. The carjackings, no one seems to do anything about it. So people just have stopped reporting crime. It's remarkable how much crime falls when people give up and stop reporting crime. The president is taking my advice. Now, I'm not really taking credit for it. I do know that people in the White House read my piece. I know because they told me, but I'm not taking credit for him doing it. I think it's a good idea, though, and it is something I support. I think you go to New Orleans, you go to Memphis, go to Kansas City, go to East St. Louis. When I was in college, I had to read a book about the divide between St. Louis and East St. Louis, and the racial divide, the economic divide, the literacy gap, the education gap, and how awful it was. And of course, the author was trying to make the case that it was all Republican policies or whatnot and racism in the country. That's not true. But East St. Louis is not a great place. St. Louis is not a great place. My buddy Leland Vittert, his family lives near St. Louis, and we were going to go out and play golf a couple of months ago. I wound up not being able to go. But we were supposed to go out there and play golf at super fancy golf course. And I got a room, and I thought, there's a Four Seasons in St. Louis. I'll stay there. And he's like, buddy, do not go outside your hotel at night. My sister had to go there for work a couple of weeks ago. She was right near the Arch in St. Louis. And the hotel staff advised her in broad daylight she needed to be careful. It's a major tourism thing. And the hotel staff told my sister she needed to be careful going out in St. Louis, in the downtown St. Louis, in the middle of the daytime. They told her she needed to be careful. You know, in Kansas City, they got rid of their jail. They've got all sorts of problems in Kansas City. Kansas City has a lot of crime. They've been dismissive of the crime. The police are overwhelmed in Kansas City. Send the National Guard. You've got a Republican governor in Missouri. You got a Republican governor in Tennessee. You got a Republican governor in Louisiana. Send the National Guard, work collaboratively with the state patrol and the local police in those areas and fight the crime. And listen, you're not going to, and what the media is going to say, you didn't get rid of all the crime. Yeah, we forgot the jaywalkers and the speeders, the occasional pickpocket and the occasional shoplifter. But you know what? You have a measurable decrease in murders, robberies, home break-ins, carjackings. Make people feel safe. People don't feel safe. The best the media can do is say, well, it's Fox News making them feel unsafe. It's not true at all. It's the people themselves and their communities. You know, if you're a national news anchor and you have a car service to your news outlet, and you live in a fancy apartment building with guards who stay downstairs and protect you at night, you feel very safe. It's the people who have to take public transportation who don't feel safe. The poor Ukrainian refugee murdered in Charlotte, North Carolina. The people who see the homeless guys. I was in New York City, last week? I travel so much lately. I was in New York last Wednesday. And a schizophrenic homeless man comes wandering across the street. And he's convulsing, it looks like. He's yelling at everybody. And I was with a friend of mine who worked in New York for years. He's like, oh, here he comes, look at him. Like, this is insane. This isn't loving your neighbor, letting the homeless man wander across the street, harassing everybody. It's not helping him. It's not helping anybody else. And the left just thinks, this is part of society. Crime is part of society. Having to deal with homeless people is part of society. We love the homeless people. We don't want to institutionalize them. So what happens? You get to Carlos Brown murders a girl on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina, going to spend the rest of his life in prison. That's really loving to Carlos Brown now. You could have helped him. You could have institutionalized him and given him the medicine to help his schizophrenia and gotten him normalized. And nope, you decided it was normalizing by throwing him onto the streets and ignoring him. And he murdered someone, and now he'll be in prison the rest of his life, if not the death penalty. It's time to clean up the cities. I would encourage the President of the United States to keep doing this. Keep doing this. Mr. President, go into the cities and clean them up. Go into the cities and clean them up and show California, Illinois, New York, all the other blue states that you do not have to fear for your life in your cities. You do not have to fear on public transportation. Show people that it's a choice to decline. And the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has made the choice not to decline, but to make our country great again, just like he promised. Can we talk about quality for just a minute? Because I can tell you, as I'm updating some furniture in my house that's lasted a very long time, it pains me to see all the cheapy disposable furniture where you're buying cheap stuff that you replace more often. You're actually losing money. It's like people who go out and they buy very cheap sheets But at the same time, there are people who think they've got to throw thousands of dollars at bed sheets. I actually know someone who spent $1,500 on sheets. My Bull and Branch sheets, they've lasted longer than that guy's sheets, and they're super soft now. They're not the highest thread count, no, but they're organic cotton, and they're long-lasting, and they get softer over time. Feel the difference an extraordinary night's sleep makes with Bull and Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bullandbranch.com/Eric. That's Bull and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/Eric, ERICK. Save 15%, unlock free shipping, exclusions apply. You guys know that idiot, what's his name? Daryl whatever, the Tucker Carlson guest who say he's Tucker Carlson's favorite historian who says Winston Churchill's the bad guy and Hitler was tragically misunderstood. He's a Nazi apologist. Good Lord. Let me read you what he put on social media. If what he did, talking about the shooter, the assassin, if what he did was so bad that I couldn't live with it, I'd take him camping and deal with him myself. There's no justification for turning immediate kin into distant, impersonal authorities. Really? So this guy, who thinks that Hitler was the good guy in World War II and Churchill's the bad guy, says if what my son did was so bad I'd murder him, I wouldn't hand him over to the authorities for justice. Really? No justification for turning immediate kin into distant, impersonal authorities. This guy is some supposed deep thinker. This is absolutely, I would murder my kid instead of handing him over to the police so he could face justice. It's actually godly to do what the parent did, which is hand his son over to the authorities to face justice and have the questions answered, put him on trial, give him due process, show that the American system works, as opposed to, well, I'd take my kid out back and shoot him. We keep elevating the most depraved people in this society. And it's just crazy. This is craziness to advocate, murdering your own son instead of having him face justice. And this is a guy Tucker Carlson thinks we should all listen to. I don't understand platforming some of these people. I'm glad we get to see this guy regularly and understand he's actually nuts, but to platform him and treat him as a thoughtful person is kind of insane. Now, I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity, that they want you to take a step for freedom in this country. One small step for freedom. All of us doing it, 250,000 of us at least, and we've all moved our country to a more free direction, to have elevated us. All you have to do is go to AFPvolunteer.com. Sign up with Americans for Prosperity to volunteer today at AFPvolunteer.com, and you can take a step for freedom. Take the 250,000 Steps for Freedom Challenge. They're not asking you to take 250,000 steps. They're asking 250,000 of us to take one step. And we will meaningfully contribute to moving this country in a better direction towards the vision our founders had if we all take that one step for freedom. Go to AFPvolunteer.com today. The 250th anniversary of the country is upon us. July 4th of this coming year, this country will be 250 years old. All of us taking one small step for freedom, we can advance the freedom of this country. AFPvolunteer.com. AFPvolunteer.com is the website to go to. We got much more when we come back, some more breaking news out there, more in politics than just what's happened now. I'll bring you the latest on the Charlie Kirk shooting and also take your phone calls at 877-973-7425. It's an open line Friday. If you want to be on the program, nationwide, coast to coast, you're listening to Eric Erickson. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick two. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Greetings, my friends. The phone number is 877-973-7425. There's some breaking news happening. An ICE agent has been shot in Chicago. He is in stable condition. He was at a traffic stop looking for an illegal alien, and apparently the person in the vehicle opened fire on him. I'll try to get you more details on this. Right now, I want to go to the phones. I want to start with John calling. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. How are you?
Great.
Hey, I was in the Marine Corps in the early '80s, and I joined when I was 18 years old, and I was basically an experiment, as all Marines, in Pavlov's dogs. And they took 80 young men from the age of 18 to 24 and turned us into Marines. Different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different religion. And by the time 16 weeks rolled around, we marched in sync. We took orders together. We did everything together. We would follow orders. And you can't do that with a mind that's older than 26 or 28 years old. And that's why these young kids, it's kind of like Pavlov's dogs. Until the media changes, they get sucked into this web, and they believe it. You can use it as an example when you were just talking about gang violence. These gang members are young kids, and this is what they're preached to, and they believe it. And until our media quits calling Trump Hitler and this hate speech, and not just speech, but it's going to be a never-ending deal.
Look, I completely agree. That's very well said. First of all, thanks for your service, particularly joining at 18. But yeah, you're 18 to 22 in that demographic. This guy, 22 years old. You surround yourself in your formative years at that age with people who have strongly held opinions and get you moving in a direction. It's real hard to turn from that direction. And people get indoctrinated online in college. This guy, I see a lot of people on the right saying, "Oh, college did this. The guy was polluted by colleges." He was in college for a semester. I don't think we can say college polluted him, but we do know now from the police he was highly online. His roommate handed them Discord chats that the guy was involved in, and he was slowly getting radicalized with his friends. And, John, my friend Tim Keller, who passed away a few years ago, had a great line, and I forget who it came from. I don't think it's original to Tim. But he said, "We are catechized by the people we surround ourselves with." You know what the catechism is? The catechism is the document prepared by the church. It's a question and answer form. You memorize the questions and the answers, and it helps buttress your faith. When you get out into the world and you are surrounded by a world hostile to faith, you remember the catechism. What is the chief end of man? To glorify God and enjoy him forever. It's usually question one across the Catholic and the Protestant catechisms, to glorify God and enjoy him forever. That's our purpose. And you get these questions asked, and you buttress your faith by remembering the questions and answers when you get into the world. And people can catechize you as well. They can cajole you and bully you and pressure you and push you to conform in some way. Your friends want you to behave in a certain direction. You want to fit into your tribe. So you begin to embrace language in certain ways. You begin to embrace certain phrases. And you become part of your group. And it's real hard to get out of it. So I was thinking about The other day, my kid was saying that he was disturbed by the number of kids in his class who decided 9/11 was an inside job, and he was frustrated by it. And I was explaining to him that, that's a depraved line of thinking, in that you're essentially saying your government it was willfully executed thousands of people that day, destroyed numerous families, killed a lot of first responders, all for something. It's always something else. Everybody's got some weird theory, and it's not true. And I was telling him I was reading a book about a guy who was in his 20s who was convinced it was an inside job because, the World Trade Center couldn't have fallen in on itself like that. There's people who say, yeah, but Tower 7, it's wild when you read the reports of the people who are convinced that it was an inside job. They're all very compelling until you kind of read the counters to it, and it's like, oh yeah, that actually makes more sense. But this guy who was convinced it was all an inside job, the towers could have never imploded like that, he saw that very famous picture of the sun rising in New York City. It's that time of year. What is it? Is it the vernal equinox or something, where the sun rises and sets and is perfectly in parallel with the roads in New York? And he saw it. And what you see in that picture, the light streaming through the World Trade Center, is the support was all in the center of the building, where the aircraft impacted and destroyed it. There weren't a lot of exterior supports. So they're like, oh, well, I can't melt steel. The flames can't melt steel, blah, 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 blah. When you actually see the picture and you see the sun coming through and you see how this very skeletal building, its internal supports were basically the elevator shafts, and the whole building was built around the support of the elevator shafts. And the guy was an engineer, a structural engineer. And he's like, my gosh, it would have fallen exactly as it fell, given that structure. And he changed his mind. But you got to have a lot of data for people. This guy was a structural engineer, had convinced himself it was an inside job, and he was only seeing that picture that the light bulb went on and said, oh, yeah, actually, a building built like that would have fallen exactly how that building fell. And yet, there are still people, they're not structural engineers, they don't have that inside knowledge, and you show them the picture like, oh yeah, it totally had to be an inside job. You get catechized by the people you surround yourself with, and you get online and you've decided something's true. And this is the thing that so many people do, is they decide that here's what happened. In my head, here's what happened, and they go online not to be challenged, but to have find every piece of opinion that bolsters what they're thinking. And it becomes apologetic. Honestly, one of the reasons that, I think Christianity is true, other than the impact and the personal feeling of Christ in my life, is when you actually listen to people. Like, I've got a friend of mine who has turned hardcore atheist, and it has to do with a lot of people in the church being nasty, and it's driven him to atheism. He puts a lot of stuff online about atheist stuff, and I'm like, these are like dumb arguments. These are really dumb arguments. It's you can say I drank the Kool-Aid, but I mean, I can easily rebut your argument. And if you actually think about this a little bit, like, for example, Bill Maher, God bless him, did a video on atheism a while back. And one of the ideas that he says that is proof this is not true is that the Egyptian god Osiris was also murdered and rose again from the dead in 3 days, and was put back to pieces, but put back together by the gods. He was entombed and he rose again, and Jesus is just an echo of the Osiris mythology from Egypt. Sounds very interesting, doesn't it? Here comes this precursor religion with this god who is he is put in the grave for 3 days, and the god of the dead, Anubis, raises him back to life. And it turns out it was a theory that can only be traced to the 18th century. German philosophers, actually no serious Egyptologist who studied Egypt, says that that's actually true. Oh. Bill left that out of his documentary, that this idea of Osiris dying and being raised from the dead in 3 days actually doesn't exist anywhere until the 1800s. Oh, I mean, it's just the ideas are dumb. But a lot of people, they want to be affirmed. Everybody wants to be affirmed. So you go online, you affirm yourself. I mean, this is happening right now in real time with Tyler Robinson, the assassin. I'm seeing people online say, well, he gave to Donald Trump in 2020. No, he didn't. That's not confirmed that's Tyler Robinson, who would have been 17 years old at the time. No, it's not. Someone else floated his voter registration that he was a Republican. And even someone from the state of Utah came out and said, that's not him. Someone else, my favorite one is that his family, they were a bunch of hunters. They loved guns. They were Republicans. They went to church. Surely he can't be on the left. Really? That's your proof he can't be on the left, is that his family was normal? That's actually kind of a damning indictment on your view of the left when you on the left say, I mean, his family was into hunting and guns and went to church and loved Jesus and Donald Trump. He couldn't be a progressive. Like, really? So you're saying he would, because his family was normal, he can't become a progressive? Yes. Yes, you can. You know how many friends I know who struggle because their kids have gone off the deep end, largely because they spent too much time on the internet in college and they became hyper progressives? I know a lot of people with kids like that. It's just wild how people just want to have their views affirmed. Daniel, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Eric. Long time listener, first time caller. And I really wasn't planning on calling, but this idea or this comparison just really popped into my head because, with this Charlie Kirk situation, and I remember back in 2020, the situation with Floyd and how the left chose to go about it. The rioters, the protest, buildings being burnt down, and all this chaos and hell broke loose when Floyd died. And also Rashard Brooks, what happened to him in Atlanta, and how, the protesters decided to burn down the Wendy's, shut down the Interstate 85, and so on and so forth, and how we as conservatives choose to handle this. And like you said yesterday, I think the best way to handle this situation with Charlie Kirk is by voicing, by going out to the polls and letting our voices be heard and handling it with maturity, unlike the left. So that was that's my comparison. That's how I'm looking at this, the left versus us as conservatives. And also, I just feel like in a way, why can't we expose, the people on top, like Schumer and Schiff and AOC and the squad, all these people that decided to say, that Charlie Kirk was a fascist or Trump is a fascist or a dictator. Why can't we, expose these people, that the whole world can see, they are the ones that are responsible. I mean, I think that we, the people in the bottom, we choose to feed from the top, and, everybody's responsible what they put in their ears and how they choose to act. But, all this, what came about yesterday, is because the people on the top. So why can't the Trump administration, or why can't we as conservatives just publicize this and say, hey, look, these people are the ones that, caused this death on Charlie Kirk. So that was my comparison, and that's my question.
Look, I do think that those of us on the right have an obligation to continue to point to left-wing rhetoric in this country, because it's what the left does to the right, and it's not a tit for tat. They do it to us, we do it for them. That there actually is some truth that when the people at the top start screaming and saying, we're at war, you got to fight, there are malcontented souls who are going to do that. Listen, this is not to turn you off, but just I want you to hear me completely, because I do not blame him. Frankly, I don't even blame them. But in 2016, when I said I wouldn't support Trump in 2016, he went after me on Twitter really hard. And we had 3 people show up at our house to threaten us. And the threat was very simply that they were going to come for me and my job and destroy me. And I needed to rethink this because my wife had cancer and I would lose my health benefits. And I better get it on board or they're going to make me lose my job. It was not we're coming to kill you or anything like that. My son was beat up. My daughter was given a guide to commit suicide. And I didn't blame Donald Trump. My wife did. I did not blame Donald Trump. Donald Trump is rough and tumble. I didn't support him. He came after me. I really didn't even blame these people because I appreciated the anger that they had. They felt betrayed by me because I was this conservative right-wing firebrand, and suddenly I'm like, wait, this is too far for me. So I disagreed with them, but I didn't call the cops on the people. You know, it's funny to this day. There are people that say, "Oh, that didn't happen. You would have called the cops." I didn't call the cops on them. But I understand that the words at the top can inspire people, rightly or wrongly. And I've tried to convey to the president before, myself in private conversation, that you got to be careful because there are crazy people out there. The left likes to talk about the right in that way a lot. The left likes to engage that way a lot, and yet the left doesn't want to talk about it on its own side. I mean, I'm watching in real time the number of people who are telling me that Tyler Robinson, this 22-year-old, when he was 17, gave over $200 to Donald Trump. There's actually no substance to it. There is a Tyler Robinson from the same area who did. It is not confirmed in any way, shape, or form to be him. There are multiple people by that name in the area. I'm seeing them do everything they possibly can to deny that this guy is on the left because they don't want to have to look introspectively at their own side and say we have a problem. The left is convinced that it is entirely virtuous, its poop never stinks, and everything on the right is awful. And so they refuse to acknowledge that there's a violent strain within the left. They cannot bring themselves to do it. Why? Because their violence is useful to stop the evil on the other side, that they believe everyone on the other side is evil. Hi there. Eric Erickson here. Happy to be with you. It is too late for me to take any more phone calls. My apologies. I want to say something here at the end of the program. You should pray for this kid, Charlie Kirkwood. Pray for Tyler Robinson. Deeply demented, misguided, dragged into evil. Pray for him and his family. His family turned him in. And his old youth pastor, who his family brought in to convince him to turn himself in. Pray for them. They need prayer. Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife and children and his parents need prayer. His friends and family, they all need prayer. The left 2 weeks ago scoffed at those of us who wanted to pray for the children and the families of those in Minnesota. They're not scoffing now. At least not yet. Pray. The power of prayer, you can't underestimate it. Even for Tyler Robinson and his family, pray. Now, I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them. You can save $200. You can get them for less than $200. You can get 3 of them. They're air purifiers. They get rid of pollen and dust. They kill 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. And you can also get them and they eliminate odors. I actually use them to eliminate odors. They eliminate all odors, litter box odors, pet odors, smoke odors, dirty diaper odors, cooking odors, you name it. That's how I use it. And I keep one in my travel bag. They're small. They're very portable. You can get 3 of them for upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your attic, your travel bag, your RV, wherever you need them. EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. You'll save $200. You'll get them for less than $200, and you'll be able to eliminate the odors. Whatever odor you have, they're not going to stand up to the Eden Pure. So get Eden Pure Thunderstorm, EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. Y'all, I really hope you are able to unplug and have a great weekend. I'm going to go turn everything off. Y'all have a great weekend.